Do people actually take you seriously when you speak? Here's a quick test. Record yourself for 30 seconds. Speak exactly as you would in a meeting. No performance, no polishing, just you explaining a point. Now play it back. Does it sound like someone who commands attention or someone who gets politely nodded at, then ignored? Most people assume this is about confidence. It isn't. It's about where your voice sits. Now, before I explain that, try this. This is an exercise which I call talk to the hand. So you're literally talking to the hand. Now, I want you to put your hand in front of your mouth like this. And this is going to give you, this exercise is amazing. This is the most accurate representation of your voice. Here we go. So put your hand here, and I want you to speak into the hand like this. And then cup your ear with the other hand. Okay, so you can do it like this, or you can do it like this. Okay? And the more you cup it, the more you'll hear the sound of your voice. Now, you can also do this onto a wall. So if this represents the wall, then you can put one hand here, and don't forget the wall is here. So this is the wall, okay? And you can then cup your ear. So the wall's here, and you're cupping your ear, and you're creating this chamber, if you like, this resonant chamber, where it's reflecting the sound back at ya, right? So that's really, really cool to do that, to do here in the wall, or have a listen here. Now you can change the position here, and that will change the volume and the tone, okay? Now notice the difference when you take your hands away and you're listening to, again, the acoustic environment, the reflections in the room, as well as your binaural recording and the resonance in the head cavity here, right? Most people suddenly hear more depth, more stability, less effort. Now that's not magic, that's resonance. And here's where it becomes really interesting. There's research by Michael Gregory and others on something called vocal accommodation. Now, in simple terms, when two people interact, their voices begin to subtly adjust to each other. Pitch, tone, rhythm. We unconsciously tune in. Now, Gregory's work showed that when voices align in certain ways, conversations last longer and feel more connected. When they don't, interaction shortens, people disengage quicker. So your voice is constantly sending social signals. Before anyone consciously evaluates your idea, their nervous system has already evaluated your tone. Studies in social perception show that judgments about competence and trust happen within milliseconds of hearing a voice. Milliseconds. Now that means before you finish your first sentence, people have already formed an impression. Now here's the key. When your voice sits high, tight, slightly thin, slightly pressed, the signal is tension, and tension doesn't feel like authority. It feels uncertain or defensive or overzealous, as if you're trying too hard. Now when your voice carries more lower frequency, more depth, more resonance in the chest and mouth, listeners rate it as more credible and more competent, even if the words are identical. So if this isn't about speaking louder, it's about speaking more settled. So practice going from one to the other. Practice going from this very trying to be really authoritative and overzealous sound from the throat, maybe get into the nasal passages here, and then come back to my speak to the hand thing here, right? So come back to this 1, 2, hello, yes, hi, yeah. And then maybe speak in that way, hi, yeah, hi. Speak in that way, get used to that sound of your voice in that zone, in that reflection, and speak in that tone, in that hopefully that grounded, settled, focused tone. And because of vocal accommodation, people will unconsciously adjust toward the more stable voice, and that's influence. And this is why some leaders walk into a room and people listen before they've said anything particularly clever. The voice carries depth, it carries steadiness, it carries safety. So when you go back to that 30-second recording, don't analyze everything. Just ask yourself one question. Does my voice sound high and tight or grounded and resonant? If you want to go further, I've created a short diagnostic quiz that shows you whether your main shift is depth, pace, or phonation. It takes a couple of minutes and it will give you a clear starting point instead of guessing. The link is below. Record yourself, listen for depth, and notice what changes when your voice sounds settled. Let me know how you get on in the comments. Speak soon.